own specialties and our recipes passed down through our memory.
Good evening, relatives. Good afternoon, relatives. Apiveshev, Mene Wostat Nanehav. My name's Krystal Tubles. I'm Oglala Lakota, Northern Cheyenne, calling in from beautiful Northern Cheyenne territory. I'm the director of the LandBack campaign at Indian Collective, and just want to thank each of you for joining us and being patient as we work through some technical glitches and, reservation Wi-Fi and all of that good stuff. So appreciate you for being patient with us. Thank you for joining us this afternoon as we dive into some really good conversation with our brother Skyler Williams from the Mohawk Nation. And just a reminder, we'll be asking folks to engage in the chat box, but just be mindful in there, keep it friendly, treat each other as relatives, and just to say, any disrespectful comments will be removed. But thank you again for joining us, and just ask folks to let us know, what land you're calling in from or what land that you're watching from. Go ahead and drop that into the chat box as we get going. First, I just want to do a brief, introduction of the LandBack campaign. It's always good to just revisit what we're doing here. And so LandBack campaign was the campaign that was really born out of the action that myself and 20 other land defenders took on July 3rd to basically prevent trespassing onto our sacred lands in the Black Hills. And from there, we developed a campaign that was focused on shutting down Mount Rushmore and radically imagining what our relationship to the land looks like there. Also to reclaim our relationship with the Black Hills, starting with public lands. And then simultaneously, our campaign is also here to provide movement support and to help develop movement infrastructure for all of our communities and our grassroots organizers who are throwing down on their lands and their territories as well. The other question I think that we always get is really what land back means. And so for us here, just naming that, land back means the literal reclamation of land, like literally getting land back, literally being in those spaces and building out that relationship to the land. It also means, for me personally, the reclamation of everything stolen from us when we were forcibly removed from the lands. So for example, our languages, our ceremonies, our kinship systems are all based on the land and our relationship to the land. Food systems, education systems, healthcare systems, housing, and even governing systems are all based on our relationship to the land and the territories that we reside on. And so that's what land back means for us, is really the reclamation of all of those things and those relationships. And LandBack Now is just one of many of the programs that we have within the LandBack campaign that's really focused on amplifying the voices of folks that are in the struggles right now, that are actually on the front lines, and uplifting what they're organizing and uplifting what they're asking in terms of support. And so we want to be able to uplift those voices and use our platforms to do so. With that being said, today we're really blessed and fortunate to have Skyler Williams here from the Mohawk Nation in Southern Ontario, and an organizer and a spokesperson for the 1492 LandBack Lane. And so I'll let Skyler introduce yourself quickly before I jump into the first question, but go ahead and introduce yourself, Skyler.
Sago, everybody. I'm Skyler Williams, from Six Nations of Grand River. Here in Southern Ontario, it's about an hour straight south of Toronto in Ontario, Canada. And so I'm quite happy and grateful that I'm able to be sharing the screen with y'all folks, and hopefully we can have a good conversation here again with this reservation Wi-Fi that we also have here.
Awesome. Thanks, Skyler. Thank you for joining us. So first off, for those of us and for folks watching who may not be as familiar with the 1492 LandBack Lane struggle, can you give us a little history and an overview of what currently is happening and kind of what led up to this point right now?
So in a nutshell, I guess the Haudenosaunee Proclamation. So our nations here at Six Nations, it's the Oneidas and the Senecas, the Cayugas and the Mohawks and the Onondagas, all we allied with the British during the Revolution. And part of the deal there was that we were given this tract of land along the Grand River, 6 miles on either side of the Grand River from the mouth to the source. And so over from 1800 to now, those lands have been slowly eroded away. And so by white settlers. So lots and lots of squatters over those last 200 years have just slowly moved into the Grand River. Grand River is quite a large river. It's about 350 miles long. Stretching from near Buffalo, New York, all the way up to other side of Toronto. And so it's quite a large tract of land, and people really need to understand kind of the geography here. Like a quarter of the entire country of Canada lives in southern Ontario, and so it's really important to kind of take that as into the context of things when we're talking about how how important building in this area is, and how lucrative it is for these massive developers that are, here we're talking about 1,400 houses on one side of the road, another 800 on the other, and so like this is hemming in our community. And so as we want to be able to expand our borders, and I think we've said this, time and time again, that this is strictly a peaceful occupation of our lands. We're not about going up and kicking settlers out of their homes. We haven't talked about going up and down with eviction notices for the millions and millions of white people that live along the Grand River. Like, this is about right on the doorstep of our community, that we're saying that we want to be able to have the same opportunities that every other big city, every other small town has had. Like, over the last 150 years, all of those big cities and small towns have grown exponentially. The only places in the US or Canada that have gotten smaller in those last 150 years are reserves. Reserves have continued to shrink down. Despite our booming populations, our borders continue to shrink. And so if we want to be able to expand those borders, and for us to be able to say that, we want to be able to grow and thrive as communities, as nations. Like, we don't build like our Western brothers and sisters do. We don't cover everything in concrete and asphalt in the name of progress. You go to any reserve, I don't care if you're in the US or Canada or anywhere else, we don't build our homes on top of each other, spitting distance from each other. You come to my house, half of our property there, it is just wild bush. It's a place for the deer to grow, the foxes, the wild turkeys. Like, this is place for them. And so that idea of living in relative harmony with what's around us is what progress is for us. To be able to see that deer in the backyard, to be able to see that the flock of wild turkeys in the backyard. That's what progress looks like for Indigenous people, I think, across North America. And I think, that's something that needs to be upheld. And so here, on July 19th, a group of family, friends, got together, and we said, what, we've got the capacity right now to be able to go and put a stop to that hemming in of our community. And so, on July 19th, it was a Sunday evening. It was about dinner time. And I mean, everything that we did was quite deliberate in the way that we did it, to try and make sure that this was going to be a peaceful occupation. We didn't want to have a violent confrontation with the developer and people that were just going to work. And so we went in on a Sunday night when we knew that, or Sunday evening anyway, that we knew there was going to be nobody here working. We came in, we made a fire, we hung up a couple of our flags, and we sat down and had dinner together. About an hour and a half later, we kind of thought it was taking a while, but then some police showed up, and they asked us how long we were planning on being here. And I said, well, our people have been here for the last 10,000 years. Chances are we're going to be here for the next 10,000. And we kind of had a laugh, and then the cops said, oh, okay, so you're going to be here for a while, and then they left. But here in Canada, there's a court process that they got started almost immediately. It's called this injunction process. It's a civil court action that looks to kind of force the hand of the OPP, and that's the provincial police, akin to your state police. And so they came on day 14 and read an injunction that the developer got without notice to us. Like, there was no notice from anybody to say that this was happening. There was no chance for defense on our part whatsoever. There was no history of the lands here. There was no all the developer had to give to this judge was just this his deed from Haldimand County. And so the idea that there was a land claim, and there is an active land claim before the courts right now, that's looking to see the accounting for the last 200 years of land deals that happened over these lands. And so we said right then and there that, like, if this is what's happening, like, we need to be able to argue this and to hear our side, have our side of the story told in these courts. And we weren't given that chance. On August 5th, day 17 of us being here, the police rolled back in the morning and blocked off all the roads, all the access points to the camp. They came in. There was 9 of us arrested that day, including myself. Yeah, there was 100 of them came in these really large vans, like the 15-passenger vans. They all started rolling down the road, and as they got up to where the police cars had the roadblock, the police cars moved out of the way, and these 25 or so vans rolled up to the front of the camp, and all of these heavily armed tactical unit OPP, Ontario Provincial Police officers, got out of those vans, some with very, very large guns that looked very much like a 12-gauge shotgun. At least I'm a hunter and have been my whole life. I know what that looks like. And as these cops got out with these very large weapons, come up to the front of the camp and told us that we had to leave or we'd be arrested. I said, okay, give us some time. He said, okay, you got 15 minutes. They proceeded to give us about 5 minutes, and some non-native folks that were there just to, show some solidarity and had said, okay, we're gonna walk out. They got as far as the road to the line of cops, and the one girl with her camera in her hand was picked up and slammed to the ground. And when everybody seen this young lady slammed to the ground, we all kind of stepped forward to see what was going on. And as that happened, the shots started ringing out. And we learned much, much later that these were rubber bullets. But at the time, like everybody just assumed that these were live rounds that were being fired at us from these, what appeared to us were, 12-gauge shotguns. And so as that started happening, we started to back up. We started to back up and several people had left. One person was grabbed and tasered in the neck and in the head. Another person was dragged along the concrete or the pavement out in front. He was dragged by his legs and his face dragged along the pavement. He's got scars on his face and ear and all down his face from this. And so, yeah, 9 of us were arrested that day. I went into the police station and was held there for about 5 hours. And when I got out of lockup, this woman came up to me with a phone in her hand and she pushed it into my face. And she said, "Do you know what's going on the ground down there?" And I had no idea at the time. I had absolutely no idea. And she said, "Everything's on fire." And I said, "What do you mean?" And I was able to focus on because I was trying to see around her camera or her phone. And I seen this, there was stuff being thrown onto the highway and roadways that, are bordering on our camp here. And so all of the roads and highways and railways that surround our camp were all shut down in order to get us back on the land. We got back here. We got back here that evening. That was the only 5 hours that our people weren't on the land here over the last 8.5 months. And so, after about a month of those barricades being up, we set to work on arguing our legal case. Fighting this in court, seeing what we can do. And so we talked to lawyers. Some of those lawyers, kind of scoffed at us because they understood we had no money. And the one lawyer talked to me for about 45 minutes, and then I had just got into the conversation, and then I said, well, what's the bottom line here? Like, what are we looking at for costs? And he said, well, we're probably looking at between a mil five. And I kind of laughed, and I said, well, we certainly don't have that. And he said, well, don't you have a fundraiser going? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, how much do you got? I said, we have $22,000. And he said, well, I guess you better get baking some cookies. And so I kind of laughed, and I hung up the phone. And so then we just set to work on figuring this out ourselves. I was self-represented, and I was the only named party in the injunction case. And and so I was the only named party in the injunction case. So I'm quite lucky in my friends. I'm quite lucky in my friends that, like, I have some very, very, very smart people around me that were able to really put together an amazing fight for us so that we could have an actual case to put forward. We had some lawyers, we had lots of people to give us advice on how to move forward with this, and so I was quite happy with that. And I mean, Six Nations is quite different from a lot of reserves in the fact that we are so big. Like, Six Nations Indian Reserve is on reserve. I think we're about 18 to 20,000 people. On our band or tribal list, it's 27,000 people. So we are quite big. And so lots of smart people in the mix there, and so that we're willing to help push this forward. We fought that case, and then at the end of it, the judge granted a permanent injunction and said that he was deciding once and for all whether or not who had claim to the land here, and barred my participation and struck every bit of evidence that we put forward, all of the history for the land, all of everything that we tried to push forward, so that the judge could make a more fulsome decision about what the reason was that our people were so upset that we were willing to make the sacrifices that we were. And that judge was not interested in hearing that and barred me from any participation in my own defense. And so that day when we got back, we had a little press conference out front. We went to a meetup spot, which is we call it the back door, and it's just kind of a back trail to get into the camp. We got there, and there was OPP officers there waiting to arrest people. And so as I pulled up, these OPP officers with these big rubber bullet guns again were standing outside on the road pointing guns at our people. And again, as soon as the door closed on my car, you hear the shots ring out. One of the young men here, a brother of mine, was shot in the back, and another guy was tasered. He managed to keep on running as he was being tasered, and the taser darts, the strings on the tasers, broke, and he managed to get free, but still had the taser dart stuck in his back. And so as we again pushed the cops off of the road and off of our lands, the excuse me, our community came out in a huge way again. And so that day on October 22nd, was the day that we seen roads and highways and railways dug up with some heavy machinery. There was trenches across the highway. There was trenches across any roads that would allow for police to be able to come in and exact that same kind of violence on our people again. And those trenches and those across all of those roads stayed there for about 4 months. And so that's kind of where we're at today. And so about a month and a half ago, the barricades came down. Barricades came down again, and maybe foolhardy of us to trust that the OPP are not going to continue the same kind of push for that. These big corporations that want to use the courts and use police as their their bodyguards, or their to be able to uphold their side of things. And so like it has been quite the year so far, and so hopefully we have some process forward. I mean, day one we offered that hand of peace to the government of Canada and Ontario and the province to to get to the table here and let's have a peaceful resolution to this, because for you know for all time here we've said like we're willing to be able to talk this out, and we're willing to come to some understanding where we see both sides heard and all of this, because like it is high time that these governments get to the table now to start dealing with us on this nation to nation process.
Man, that was such a journey. Just like sitting here listening to you share that is such a powerful journey. Man, so really quick, how long have y'all been there? Like actually on the land?
8.5 months now. Yeah, it's been a long bit, but I mean over those 8.5 months we've built the building that I'm in right now.
Mm.
Um, built the building that I'm in right now. I think there's like 10 tiny houses. There's another kind of communal kitchen area, and this one that we just kind of use for a meeting space and kind of lounge spot. We've got wood stoves and everything, and I'm just happy that it's getting warmer weather, and I can sit here with a t-shirt with the door open, like and hear the birds outside, and there isn't a foot of snow out the door anymore. So it's a welcome sight to see the spring coming.
Nice. That's so beautiful. Yeah, I was reading up and just, I've been watching your posts when you post like 250 days and you do your updates and whatnot. And so I've been a big supporter and whatnot from afar. But just like hearing the history and digging into the history with like the Halaman track and the proclamation, like it's very reminiscent of our struggle here in terms of like the Black Hills in the 1851 and 1862 Fort Laramie treaties, that basically, like gave us, our territory, quote unquote, in the Black Hills, and then rescinded that and went back on the treaty agreements because gold was discovered in the Black Hills. And then even just like the lawsuits are very similar too. Like we were in the longest standing lawsuit against the U.S. government, and then they tried to just basically pay us and like pay us off, and came up with a settlement amount. But to this day, like none of that money has ever been accepted, and so that it's just sitting there, and like it will never be accepted, right? Because that doesn't ever justify us being forcibly removed from those lands, that are part of our origin stories and our creation stories. And
And
so
something that I talk about that quite a bit is exactly that. Like our creation story, like we are made from this clay that we're standing on right now.
mhm.
And like, these bulldozers come in here to like, because that's where we're at right now, is that these bulldozers that have come in here have flattened every blade of grass, every shrub, every tree that was here. It makes our mother beautiful. Has been shown that kind of instills that bit for us, is that the fact that the clay that our creation stories talk about us being made from is it gets very dry here in the summertime, and that clay sticks to you. And it is
Yeah,
it is yeah 90-95 degree heat. Right?
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. No, even our
it's
songs, right? They tell us like we have ceremonial songs that say we are the land, and just those are just really powerful reminders of like why we make the choices that we make, right?
and I mean like that connection to the land is something that is is part of us, and I think it gets lost on a lot of people that just don't get the fact that you can't put a monetary land claims here in Canada has nothing to do with land. do with it. And like, there's no amount of money there, and even when we got court, it's like there's nothing that these guns and their jail and whatever amount that there's nothing, none of that can dissuade us from what it is we're doing here. Like that connection to the land is something that weighs anything that they can do, that just my life.
Skyler, I think you're getting pretty choppy here. Can you hear me okay? All right, folks, hang in there with us. We're dealing with our reservation Wi-Fi again. We should be picking back up here in a second. In the meantime, folks, maybe in the chat, oh, there we go. Okay, yep, I see you again. Can you hear me okay?
You just fine.
Okay, perfect, cool. I want to kind of ask about just like the OPP. I seen that, and I was reading the article. So here at the LandBack campaign, we have 4 demands, right, that we organize under, and our demands are basically dismantle white supremacy in all of the institutions that continue to embody and uphold white supremacy, and keep us separated and removed from our lands. The second one is defund white supremacy and defund the mechanisms that enforce white supremacy, which for us is the police, it's the military, it's the border patrol, it's ICE, it's even like the national park rangers, right? And then we have consent, so just like moving us from an era of like meaningful consultation to actual consent, free and prior informed consent. And then also just like the simple demand of return Indigenous lands to Indigenous hands. But I see that there's a lot of conversation right now about the OPP and them spending $16.3 million on policing y'all. And so just wanted to give you a moment to talk about that, because I know that there's a lot of conversations happening right now with yourself and others in response to that. All right, y'all. We are still dealing with our reservation Wi-Fi issues. While we're waiting for Skyler to jump back on, maybe in the chat you can just drop what LandBack means to you, and just hang in there with us. We'll see if we can get through this.
Keep it lit till ceasefire. On our knees, police hide. Wounded knee, unleashed scour. Press for peace and peace of mind. Broken leases, treaty signed. Buried seeds and now we grew. Growing slowly, counting cool. As we grow to know our roots. Our history, victory. No mystery, we're stronger now, making history. Give thanks to him, getting straight through. Our high power, our dark side, we are the light. But through the night we lit. We woke now, more slow down, we it. We still here, we ain't going out like this. We still here, we ain't going out like, just zoning out like this, yeah. My heart's pouring out like this, yeah. Side of your spirit, make sure that fire stays lit. We need that energy, I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes, passed down through our memories. We need that energy, I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes, passed down through our memories.
this energy reciprocated. The type of synergy that can be imitated. I'm talking corn, red, blue, and orange. You smile against the sunset, your beauty's so foreign to me. You must be from the east, so tell me what your people grew to eat. I'm talking food sovereignty and everything in between. We can lose reality, get lost in our dreams. It's just you and me. I found this feeling of freedom and I don't wanna let it go. I'm an eagle in the garden of Eden, watch me grow. This is bigger than what we believe in. I hope you know all this talking that I'm doing is not for show, yeah. This the start of a new era, so hold my hand and tell me that you ain't scared of fighting for this land. Cause everything we do is Creator's chosen plan. Learn to live through these moments so we overstand.
I need that energy, I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes, passed down through our memories. We need that energy, I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes, passed down through our memories.
JC on the track, boy.
We need that energy, I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes, passed down through our memories. We need that energy, I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes, passed down through our memories.
Envisioning the scenery with mountains and peaks and glacier-fed water in the creek. Sounds so sweet, sweet grass as we ride to the beat. Cruise through a valley with the clouds and the heat from the sun graces our skin so radiant. We taking it in and it's enough to go around, enough for everyone, enough for us to all feel loved. And nobody is above anyone. Feel high without the drugs, grow our own damn bud, and that's in the plan. A hemp farm, grow 10-foot cannabis plants, CBD oils and butternut squash, infusing with different recipes, making our own sauce with red chilies and songs we could all sing along to. Build our own villages we all move on to, free from the pollution, contamination, with the cleanest water and air. That's the resolution, yeah.
We need that energy, I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes, passed down through our memories. We need that energy, I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes, passed down through our memories.
So we feed the fire, keep it lit till ceasefire. On our knees, police hide. Wounded knee, unleashed scour. Pressed for peace and peace of mind. Book releases, treaty signed, buried season.
Hey everyone, thanks for being patient with us. We got Skyler back, I think. And so just want to pick up on our conversation. So I had mentioned giving you a chance to talk a little bit about OPP, and I had seen a post and was reading and having conversations about them spending 16.3 million on policing y'all since you first were on the land. And so just wanted to hear your thoughts on that and just reflections of what the conversation about that amount of money is. Oh, we may still be struggling here, y'all. All right, let's see if we can get him back.
Slowly count cool as we grow to know our roots. Our history, victory. New mystery, we're stronger now, making history. Give thanks to him, getting straight through. Our high power, our dark side, we are the light, but through the night we lit. We woke now, more slow than we ate. We still here, we ain't going out like this. We still here, we ain't going out like. We going out like. Just zoning out like this, My heart's pouring out like this, Out of your spirit. Make sure that fire stays lit. Fire stays lit.
We need that energy. I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes, passed down through our memories. We need that energy. I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes, passed down through our memories.
Yeah, I need this energy reciprocated, the type of synergy that can be imitated. I'm talking corn, red, blue, and orange. Your smile against the sunset, your beauty so foreign to me. You must be from the east, so tell me what your people grew to eat. I'm talking food sovereignty and everything in between. We can lose reality, get lost in our dreams. It's just you and me. I found this feeling of freedom and I don't wanna let it go. I'm an eagle in the garden of Eden, watch me grow. This is bigger than what we believe in. I hope you know all this talking that I'm doing is not for show, This the start of a new era, so hold my hand and tell me that you ain't scared of fighting for this land. Cause everything we do is Creator's chosen plan. Learn to live through these moments so we overstand.
I need that energy. I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes, passed down through our memories. We need that energy. I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes, passed down through our memories.
Hey everyone, I apologize for the crazy Wi-Fi issues that we've been having, trying to go across snowstorms and spring weather and across, the medicine line and onto reservation Wi-Fi is a whole ordeal. So I appreciate you for hanging in there with us. Unfortunately, we lost Skyler. The Wi-Fi just wasn't holding up. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just schedule a follow-up conversation because we still want to dive deep into this. We still want to uplift what 1492 LandBack Lane is asking in terms of support and just like even contributions. And so we will be coming back with another time, another date to finish this conversation. And I know leaving y'all with a crazy cliffhanger, but we'll come back and we'll dive deeper into the conversation that we are starting around spending $16.3 million just to police land defenders, to dive into conversations around the criminalization of land defenders and land protectors. And so we want to make sure that we have those conversations, and we want to make sure that in the meantime, you're able to support 1492 LandBack Lane. And so feel free to follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, 1492 LandBack Lane. It's in our comments. It's also here on the page. So please follow them. Please stay tuned. Come back to Indian Collective social medias, and we will announce when we can finish this conversation and have a follow-up. So thank you for joining us. And again, stay tuned. We'll wrap up this conversation and we'll be back here again together soon. Yeah, Ish.
Said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown specialties and our recipes passed down through our memories. We need that energy, I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes passed down through our memories.
Envisioning the scenery with mountains and peaks and glacier-fed water in the creek. Sounds so sweet, sweet grass as we ride to the beat. Cruise through a valley with the clouds and the heat from the sun graces our skin so radiant. We taking it in and it's enough, enough to go around, enough for everyone, enough for us to all feel loved. And nobody is above anyone. Feel high without the drugs, grow our own damn bud, and that's in the plan. A hemp farm, grow 10-foot cannabis plants, CBD oils and butternut squash, infusing with different recipes, making our own sauce with red chilies and songs we could all sing along to. Build our own villages we all move on to, free from the pollution, contamination, with the cleanest water and air. That's the resolution. Yeah.
We need that energy. I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes passed down through our memories. We need that energy. I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes passed down through our memories.
So we feed the fire, keep it lit till ceasefire. On our knees, police hide. Wounded knee, unleashed scour. Pressed for peace and peace of mind. Broken leases, treaty signed. Buried seeds and now we grew. Growing slowly, counting cool. As we grow to know our roots. Our history, victory. New mystery, we're stronger now, making history. Give thanks to him, getting straight through. Our high power and our dark side, we all alive. But through the night we lit. We woke now more slow than we ate. We still here, we ain't going out like this. We still here, we ain't going out like. We going out like. Just zoning out like this, My heart's pouring out like this, It's out of your spirit. Make sure that fire stays lit. Fire stays lit.
We need that energy. I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes passed down through our memories. We need that energy. I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes passed down through our memories.
Yeah, I need this energy reciprocated, the type of synergy that can't be imitated. I'm talking corn, red, blue, and orange. Your smile against the sunset, your beauty's so foreign to me. You must be from the east, so tell me what your people grew to eat. I'm talking food sovereignty and everything in between. We can lose reality, get lost in our dreams. It's just you and me. I found this feeling of freedom and I don't wanna let it go. I'm an eagle in the garden of Eden, watch me grow. This is bigger than what we believe in. I hope you know all this talking that I'm doing is not for show. This the start of a new era, so hold my hand and tell me that you ain't scared of fighting for this land. Creator's chosen plan. Learn to live through these moments so we overstand.
I need that energy. I said we need that energy. energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties and our recipes, passed down through our memories. We need that energy, I said we need that energy. Out back with the remedies, grown with our own specialties.